This is the payroll module A to Z. So whatever you want to consider A to Z. I don't know if I got this in alphabetical order or not. We're going to kind of bounce around. What I want to do, though, is make sure that you get what you need out of this class. I mean, it's not, I have a presentation. You guys all got the slides. I hope you've seen them. And I probably made some changes after you got them, because that's usually what I do. Because I think about this.
Where are we supposed to have?
No changes? So you should have gotten.
No, with no slides. Now, this is all news to us because we were not told to download presentation before 10 days.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, you do have access to those?
Understood.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that we
Have them. Gotcha. Okay. I apologize for that. We'll make sure that you should be able to go back onto the site.
Yeah, well, I don't like that site.
This is being recorded, right? Yeah, well, I can't say anything. Oh, that's too bad. I'll take that in consideration.
I had a problem trying to find where.
Too. Yeah, we're fighting it too, trust me. I will just say that. Yes.
You're talking to people that aren't familiar, so a lot of us are new. We just got this assignment, so we're all kind of learning here. So
Okay.
it's hard to know where to go.
Okay. Well, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, maybe during lunch we can figure out where you got to go for some of this stuff. 'Cause I thought it was part of that.
That was not.
Okay, that's fine. Well, anyhow, we're not talking about that right now. Let's talk about payroll.
Understood, but when I tried to do that, it wanted me to sign up to be another whatever, and then I go, no, I don't want to do that. I've already registered, and I couldn't get to where I could get that. That was my
Okay.
frustration.
Well, maybe we'll,
How I got registered with Bismarck.
Yeah, see how things happen.
you got registered with Bismarck?
I'm getting emails for Bismarck's Roadshow, so I think I've registered with both.
Well, congratulations. Well, you got it. We're leaving at 4 o'clock. The bus is leaving. Okay. All right. So our agenda for today, we're going to talk about a little bit of overview of the module. You're new. You said that. I already know that you're new. Anybody else new to kind of the payroll, Parasoft?
Yeah, new-ish.
Newish.
For a year.
Year, okay. You're newish? 2 months, okay. Okay. Well, let me just ask you this, from a newish person,
Yeah.
are you getting through it okay, or are you having difficulty?
It's already been set up by the previous.
Okay, but are you able to
And-
navigate through and all that pretty easily?
I am, for the simple fact that I do QuickBooks for another organization for
Okay.
the last 10 years, so I know a lot of the generalized navigation is the same.
Good.
So when I'm looking for something, I know what I'm looking for.
Good.
If I had not had that, it would be very difficult
Okay.
because the terminology, you don't understand it till you do it.
Sure. Okay. Well, hopefully, we'll go through this here. Anyhow, so we're going to look at some of the overview, adding an employee. I know that, we want to, take care of guys like him for payroll, right? So he gets paid too, so you pass your salary, and so you don't pay taxes and all that kind of stuff. There's a way of setting them up, right? You all know that? So-
No, that's what I would like to learn.
Yes, we're going to go through that.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way. I screwed it up and had to call and have it.
Yeah, because he took taxes out of them and everything else. Says, well, I don't pay Social Security or Medicare, or I don't pay federal state taxes. Well, you did now. So,
You're going to now.
you're going to now. You got to file a return so you can get your money back. Do you file a return, though? Because you get W-2s. You don't even file a return, do you? Okay. All right. That must be nice. Eh? Picked the wrong profession. Yeah, taxes are awful. Anyhow, where were we? So payroll process, little report review, and some payroll forms. Nancy's going to go through payroll forms later on in more detail on the I-9, not the I-9s. Well, she's going to talk about the W-4s and the W-2s and 941s, that kind of stuff that you got to run, right? So just so you know, payroll is fully integrated with ledgers and payables, meaning so that your chart of accounts ties to the payroll. So when you run a payroll, does all the expenses, does all the liability does all that for you, right? Hits the books. So that's pretty well set up. You ever get that when you run payroll, you get that big red notice?
Yes.
And when you freak out at first, go, oh my God, what's wrong? So you have to fix your distribution accounts. Okay, so that's what the integration's for. You know what I'm talking about? You look confused. All right,
And
so,
I saw the red part.
all right, so there, again, for
Don't ever want to.
you don't want to see that. When you run payroll and you actually submit payroll, you do the payroll process, it will try to do the integration to accounting. You'll look for accounts that are set up in distribution. So you have your wage account, and make sure, if you pay somebody a wage, all your expense accounts are tied to that wage account. And it's a distribution thing. And if you ever do that, you get this big red message. It's pretty scary. It says that it's not set up. You just got to set up the distributions. It's not as complicated as it sounds, but it's something just you need to be aware of, that if you do get something like that.
Once you realize what it's asking for, it's not that complicated.
No, it's not.
But when you get it,
It's
kind of hard stopping when you're trying to run payroll. And
right, and usually you're trying to run
You have to
payroll.
reset everything up before you can run it.
No, just the accounts, like, the reason I got it was, we have never paid stole fees out of payroll. The new priest wants them paid with payroll. So I went in and I made a stole fee, pass-through account, so I put the money in there and then I pay it out going through there too. And I thought all I had to do was add that. That's not what you have to do. Once you've added it, you have to go in and you have to tell it all the distribution stuff. So if it were to charge taxes, where do you want that to go? If it were to charge 401k, where should that go? So you have to tell it all that stuff. Whether or not it uses it, you have to tell it where all those expenses would go if you pay that type of
Right.
payment.
Like I said, it sounds scarier than it really is, but it's the idea. It just needs to be done. So that's why I just want to
Yeah.
point that out. There is a flexible pay schedule. So do you have multiple pay schedules where you can have like bi-weekly folks and monthly folks? Do you ever do anything like that? Groups? You do? Do you have different groups, pay groups? Okay. So it makes it easier for payroll. Especially if you got a number of staff. It really works well if you have like teachers and stuff like that, because then you can pay your teachers differently from your admin staff, from your pastoral group, things like that. You just break them out in smaller chunks. Okay. Obviously, we do pre-tax calculations, so you can do your 401k and all that kind of stuff, or health benefits if you're paying those. We do maintain all the current tax tables. That's what's the beauty of it, because you have QuickBooks. QuickBooks, they do maintain it for you as well. If you QuickBooks Online, it maintains it. But if you have it, you got to get the update when it's on desktop. Yeah. So we maintain the tax tables, and usually we do a release somewhere in December, early January for all the tax tables to update those, especially in the new W-2s. Of course, the feds always change things, so you may not get stuff until a little later on. I know a couple years ago, the tax tables came out like later in January, so the first payroll was long because the tax tables were changing, but because the feds changed. We'll look at some, there's many standard reports that are available that we can look at, and there's supports all tax forms, and we'll look into that. In the overview screen, you're familiar with this, where it shows the latest payroll that you ran, all your employees. And so we have a big employee. We have a big group here. But it gives you access to all that. And also things that are good. I don't know if you've ever used any of this. You ever looked at the user guides or videos or release notes? You ever look at those things? You ought to do that. Or online help articles. You have a question regarding how to do pastor salaries. Online help article. You click on that. You say, I want to see clergy salary. How do I set that up? It'll take you to a knowledge-based article, and it tells you how to do it. Okay, so these are very good. Okay. A support question. So if you're talking to support, you email support. If you don't know the phone number, which I can tell you what the phone number is, it's 866-930-4774, extension 2. That'll take you to support, and then you go to accounting support. And those guys will, yes. No. Don't you hate that when people give a phone number out and they move on to the next thing? You say, I didn't hear anything you just said. 866-930-4774. And one thing, when you call support, don't just say, hi, this is Mary from St. Mary's. Call me. Now, we have no idea. You know how many St. Mary's hospitals, St. Mary's churches there are in the country, or in the state, or some in the same diocese? So we really need more information. So if you really can understand when you call support or leave a message or do an email, If you know what a POL is, your church ID. Okay, it's in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. When you log in, you'll see it over here. I'll show you to it, but it'll be up there next to the name of your church. So when you do call or something, our ID is 10572 or whatever, and they can find you in support. They can actually, because support can log into your system from there, and they can see what you're talking about. So anytime you go into support, or if you email them, say, this is me, this is my phone number, this is my church, this is my state, and this is my POL, and this is my issue. It makes it a lot easier for them to do research for you, okay? And then obviously easy navigation for, you click on payroll, you have all those, just icons. And it's the same across all the applications. We looked at a general, ledgers and payables, the same concept, right? You just click, 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 takes you there. So it's pretty easily navigatable. Whatever. You can navigate through it pretty easily. Okay. So adding an employee. How often do you do that? Update employees.
Quite often, actually.
Pardon me?
Quite often, actually.
Okay. How many employees do you have in your church?
We have 60, but we have a daycare, so we constantly have part-time turnover.
Okay. Okay. So they paid at a different time as the other folks, or everybody paid at the same time?
No, actually, I didn't know you could do that. That would be great.
Okay. It's called pay groups.
There you go.
Put that down. Pay groups. Pay groups allows you to do that. And with the pay group, what you can do too is, if they're paid biweekly, then there's a number. If you paid biweekly, how many pay periods in a year do you have? 26, right? Semi-monthly is 24. Annually is once, right? Semi-annually is twice. But the thing is that you can set up pay groups. It's important when you do a pay group for different groups that you have the right number of pay periods too, because that'll tell you how much you're going to get paid. It calculates the taxes and everything else based on that. Okay? So you can have weekly, which is 52, then you can have bi-weekly, which is 26, and then you can have semi-monthly, which is 24, or monthly, which is 12. And so it's important to keep that straight for tax purposes and also if you're paid hourly or salary, okay? Because we base all that stuff on those pay periods. So when you're adding an employee, and I'll go live to the system in a little bit when we have time, because I want to go through the slides here first. You simply click on, you get to your employee list, right? See how I clicked on that? Went to the employee, then add a new employee. I like this room so much better. Yeah, I'm gonna stay here. I think those guys can just. Yeah, I saw that, but still echoes though, so I don't even like using that microphone. Pardon me?
Everybody have to sit closer, but you should be able to see it.
Yeah, well, I think once he puts a TV now, he'd be able to plug into, be able to sit in front of that TV, probably easier. Okay. So first of all, you have your general tab. Your general tab is where you need to make sure you have all the information here, specifically for W-2 purposes, right? So you got to have their first name, last name, and all their formal information on their addresses and what have you. Because you can't run a W-2 unless you have a good address. You can't just have a name, okay? Won't work. Then the next, so once you do hit the general tab, you put this information on it, you submit it, and then all these others will light up then once you have that option there. And once you do that, then you have your next thing, which is your employee custom required fields, okay? So these fields collect some information, like, I don't know, if you put in term date, termination date, hire date, things of that nature, just for HR purposes. It doesn't do anything really other than this informational this stuff is, but you also have custom fields if you want to put in license numbers. So if you have daycare workers, are they registered daycare workers or whatever that you have to be, you can put stuff in there for that.
I do have a question, because some of our daycare workers, then they finish college, not a lot of them, but then they become full-time employees some other way, either with the school or something. I struggle with the custom fields.
Okay.
Can I adjust like how long it lets me type, in those? Because I want prior information, so it helps to know when they started working with us, but it would be nice to know that, okay, July of 2020, they went from a child care provider to director of child care, and then from child care director, they went into our preschool. Like, knowing their history, is there, and they kind of limit you in there. Is there a way to
Well,
that?
you can. Well, let's look at the attachments. You can do an attachment with all that history on there. So when you use like how much do you type in here? You type, or do you just put in previous position? Or
Some of them that I'm kind of adjusting and smushing words so that, because I want to say there's a character limit
Okay.
of so many characters, so I kind of adjusted it to kind of work for me, but I was just looking.
Well, you know what? Let's find out. I'm going to ask the question. I don't know.
Okay.
You're the first person to ask me that question.
Okay.
It won't be the last time either, I'm sure. But let me just find out. I'm going to write that down. So basically, you want to track. Stop. Oops.
Track their job history with the church, basically.
Doggone it. This is hard to do this when you have, it's on an angle here. We'll find out. Let's find out. We'll find out by the end of the day. All right, so the next thing is add an employee tax data. So you enter into the state and federal tax withholding information. You have the new W-4 processing. You know what's familiar with the new W-4 after 2019? The different W-4, what it looks like? Okay. This one here is the old version. I don't know if I got the new version on here or not. I thought I put that on here. Oh, I did. The newer version, where you have dependent amount, other income, all this stuff is all new, and it's after 2019, you had a new version of the W-4 that you put in here. So it's post 2000, this is what's kind of weird, pre-2020 and post-2019. But anyhow, this is the new version, okay? But for our clergy, what I wanted to point out here on this screen is how do we pay the clergy? You have a clergy pay code. You familiar with that? Okay, you have that, so it's not taxable. And also, you come in here, you make sure that you have turned off Social Security and Medicare withholdings for them. They still get a W-2, right? Still get a W-2? I'm picking on you. That's what you get for being here. I'll make sure it works for you. You're getting this through. You're getting your W-2, right? Okay. But then in order for it to show on the 941s and get a W-2, you got to make sure you click withholding because it's going to be included in there. Because they still got to be included in there. Just that can be $0, right? And then here, override $0. Independence 0. So you have to make sure that you put in 0 for an override. And the same with the state tax, same process. Okay, 0. You don't want to say married jointly spouse. You don't put that in there. Put it single. But that's the old version too. Remember, state withholding, state tax hasn't changed their new one there. But you want to put single. I didn't change that. Doggone it. But anyhow, it should be single. Okay. So does that make sense? So they're going to show them the W-2s, they're going to show them the 944s, 941s, all those things, right? But there's not going to be any taxes withheld.
So all clergy don't have to pay any tax, everything.
Correct.
Just like
Mm-hmm.
gross tax,
Mm-hmm.
gross pay.
Yes.
So what if one of your clergy wants to have something withheld?
Then you,
Then you just have to put in like whatever it is they want.
yes, so you put in maybe $25 or something like that, or whatever
So
per,
they want something, then
Yeah.
you just override it to whatever they request.
yes, yes, yes. Mhm. Any other questions on that? Then you have pay day. This is what I was talking about, pay groups. Your pay groups. You can have multiple pay groups, and we'll go into the system, I'll show you that. But pay groups is very important. And that's where you can segregate your employees easier. So if you're paying one group on a weekly basis, one on a monthly basis, a bi-weekly basis, you can segregate. It makes it easier to find your employees. And then you have, if it's hourly or salary, if it's a full-time, part-time. And this is important because then it depends on how you put the dollars in here. Because you can put in, if it's hourly, then you have your number of units you're paid. And you can make this 0 if you want, number of units, or they're going to get paid 66 hours a pay period. Or you override the number of hours at the pay time card when you're doing payroll. But here's their hourly rate, right? So then you have your accounts, and so this is where it's important if we talk about accounts. So you have your pay code called regular pay, taxable. It goes to, like this is an office manager, so it has an account distribution called office manager, and then that hits that expense account for the payroll, and then everything else gets distributed from that point forward. Okay? And you can change that. Okay? You can also do, I think you can, do I have it? Yes. You can do, this is the distribution I was going to talk about. So here's your office manager account distribution, and then you have all your accounts that are attached to you. Your Social Security withheld, Medicare withheld, and all that stuff, and then all your liability accounts, what you have to pay. So these are all the withholdings on top, and then your expenses, your benefits that you're paying. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you use that office manager pay code and it blows up, it's because this is not set. You may have a couple of them in here, but not all of them in here. And what's nice is that I can copy this when I add a new one. Copy. So you go to the new one. You say copy, or you go to the old one, say copy, and then it says copy, and it says where you want to put it to, and you put the new pay code there, and it puts all the distributions in for you. Does that make sense? Make sure, does that make sense? Okay. And then benefit deductions. Okay, this is your deductions or your benefits, so it's not tax. We automatically do the taxes. We figured that out. But then you have your other ones, like this one here has a garnishment, and maybe as a pension benefit. So pre or post tax. Okay, and then you have your summary, your employee accumulation summary, so you can see what their gross pay was and then all the taxes they paid for by quarter. You can change the period, what month you want to say it, and recalculate it. So I can look at previous years and stuff like that, so I can see the previous salary history. And same with the accumulations down here, Social Security, wages, and all that. So if somebody says, what did I make last year? I don't remember. You can just go to here and run it. Okay. Do you do any personal time tracking? You do? Okay. So you're probably an expert at this one here. So it's kind of how it works is that you set it up. You have the option for personal time to track, paid days off or vacation, sick, holiday, whatever you want to do, track. And you can have multiple personal time codes, and you can put limits, but it will calculate if you're doing an earn per pay period. If you click on that, It'll do the automatic accrual for you. So if you earn 1.75 hours per pay period, it would calculate that up to 80 hours for a year, something of that nature. It will do that for you, do the automatic calculation. And at the end of the year, you decide, do I want to carry all that forward, or do you use it or lose it, or something in between? Some of you might only carry forward 40 hours. Do you have any policy like that, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so then at the end of the year, you run that process where you clear out but leave 40 hours or something like that, up to 40.
One day, how many hours they have, and if they don't use it,
They'll lose it.
they'll
Yep.
carry 10 days. So
Okay, so you just carry 10 days. So you just reset all those. So on their paychecks, it'll print on their paychecks what they have left and what they've used. And that's what they have.
And there's a way to mass do that?
Yes.
I've only started trying to use this, and I did not know you could mass do it.
Yes. Yeah, there's a whole process. It's a, yeah.
Okay.
One thing you can do is that, see all those also help videos. You click on that, it'll take you how it works too,
Okay.
which I really like. So accounting is really, we try to make it as easy as possible to understand and learn, and there's a lot of help tools built into the system. But when you're using it or adjusting it, you have to come in here and adjust it. So if somebody takes it, it doesn't take it based on a pay code, PTO. You actually got to come in here and adjust what they've earned and what they used. Okay. Okay. Typically, you're adjusting what's used. So if they took last pay period, they took 16 hours, you got to go in here and say they used 16 hours of PTO time, for instance. Okay. And then it'll adjust that available for you. So then on their paycheck, they'll say, would you earn 80 hours? What did you use? 8 available 72 hours. It'll put it on their paycheck. Okay. And then, like I said, earn per pay period. You can do a lump sum too at the beginning of the year, so you can say everybody gets 80 hours, and wipes out everything else. Like you said, they can only carry 40 hours, or they get nothing, or you start over again. Or you can say, the limit's 80 hours, but they only earn, 10 hours a pay period, so so it'll accumulate it for them.
the thing I haven't figured out is is there a way to set a fiscal year? It just so display year is.
It's always by calendar year.
That should be changed.
Yeah.
A lot of churches are on fiscal.
Yeah.
Yes. I know payroll typically an annual, calendar year because of the IRS. But you're right, for benefits and what have you. Yes. But can you adjust it though in the mid-year?
Sure.
But it's still, yeah. I don't know.
But it's
It's still, yeah.
It's everything from January. to
Yeah,
June.
it will. Yeah. No, you know what? I'll write that down. Let's see.
As long as you're writing something down, something I didn't ask downstairs is on the credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we, by dollar amount, that's the word I'm looking for.
Distribute?
Well, no. When you're doing the reconciliation.
Okay.
On the checkbook, you can sort it, that's the word I'm looking for. You can sort it by date, you can sort it by amount, you can sort it by account. You can't do that on the credit card. I've been asking for that for probably 3 years, and it hasn't gotten done yet, but it would sure make that credit card reconciliation easier if you could do that.
Got it down. But this is payroll, so stop asking questions. Too late. Yeah, see, people it can be recorded now. Why is he asking a accounting question? That's all right. And then you have direct deposit. Okay, do you all use direct deposit? Okay, so that works pretty well. You can do a split. You can actually do a check and a direct deposit. Anybody do that? I worked in healthcare for a number of years, and the nurses like to get their bonuses and checks and not put it in the bank account so they can do other things with it. And so we always had to put, bonuses were paychecks, and everybody else was direct deposit. So you can do that here. You put in 50%, and then the bottom would be everything would go to a check if you wanted to do that.
I only have 3 employees, but does it cost to use the ACH for direct
No.
deposit? No.
Nope. So if an employee wants to say $100 to go to the savings account and the remaining go to the checking account, they would set up the distribution account by amount. The savings account, the first line would be $100, and the check amount would be the last line with a blank. Okay? And we're going to the checking account. So basically, it would be if you want to do a 100%, just $100, for instance. If you say amount of $100, the rest of it would go to checking. Then you would put in the checking account and put it blank. So it would just do the remaining there for you. Okay? And then also list all the payroll employees' checks that are available that we've created. So you can look at those, how much their check was. And this is ACH. And then any attachments. So just like AP and all the other ones, you can do attachments too within payroll. So you can attach the I-9, for instance, or W-4 here. So you have it. So you don't need to keep the paper copy if you don't want to, because you can always reprint it. So you have that option. Anybody using attachments?
So if you use an attachment, so it goes on is it seeable then, because this is an online software program?
Yes.
So then if someone's helping you, they can also see those attachments?
Yes.
So it just becomes part of the whole online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Right. Look at the process. You go back here to the payroll process, and then we go into create a new payroll. Now make sure if you have an open payroll, you can't create a new one until you close the previous one. You know that, right? Because that affects people too. I'm trying to do a new one. We got to finish the old one first. So that's very important. Of course, your payroll number is something we calculate. You can pick your bank account. So you have a different bank account for payroll opposed to AP. You could have that. You can also default that based on your user options. So if you have a different bank account for payroll opposed to AP, you can have a different bank, and you can have it default to different bank account for you. The description, the pay period, begin date, pay period, end date, and of course the check date would depend on that.
So default, you just go into like settings, setup or something?
Yes, you go to settings, and you go under user options, and you can go and see all your defaults. And that's very important. And we'll go into that. That's also Ask the Expert. We'll go into that in more detail. And then you have your select your employees. This is your pay groups we talked about. So you can have different pay groups. So you have monthly pay groups, semi-monthly, whatever. You can pick a pay group or all groups, and then you can just pick who you want to pay. So you can just select all and just pay that whole group without having to cherry pick within your groups, within your payroll. So if you have 16 employees and half of them are on a different pay period schedule, then you create that pay group for that group, and then you can just find those 8, for instance. It makes it a lot easier for running payroll. But you can select your employees here, and then you can edit your time card. So this is where if you have an hourly employee, okay, you put in a number of units, right? So if you get paid $10 an hour, you put in they work 40 hours or whatever here. So you do a time card. You can also change the distribution too here. So if you want to change up the distribution, so let's say somebody worked temporarily as a custodian opposed to as a teacher, instead of going in and creating a whole new pay code for them, you just go in and can change the distribution for that one time for that person. So it'll pay against that other pay time code or that distribution. Also, what was I going to say here? Do that. Let's say that the pay rate changed for this person. Instead of just changing in here, you would go out, go into the employee record, update their record, come back to payroll processing and hit the reset button. That allows you then to reset what you just changed. So it puts in a new. So it's not something that's just a temporary, unless it's a temporary pay increase or decrease, you can do that. And also this check sequence, you can have separate checks for just pay code. You can create a check for regular pay, and you can have another check print for something else. That's what that 1, 2, 3, 4 and N is for. Okay.
You could actually pay in the same payroll a bonus, but mark it as check 2. So
And
it
you'll
goes
get a separate
separate.
check.
Okay.
Okay. You create your payroll, and when you do create your payroll, you click on that, you have the option. So this do like a bonus check. You don't take all the deductions. You're not taking 401k. You're maybe not taking a couple other things. You can change when you do that calculation. You can actually click on calculation options. It allows you to change what you want to. I think it brings that up. Yeah. It allows you to change the what taxes you want to take or not. So if you have like deductions, benefit deductions for like a bonus, you're not going to take health care, for instance, or it's an adjustment check. You're not going to pull $45 for your 401k because you underpaid them by $10. So you just want to just take that out, so you just pay them that way. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Okay. And when you hit that,
So will every employee show up when you hit that button? So you can go in and make the adjustments, or
yes, for every employee that you're going to run into this pay period,
it'll all show up?
it'll adjust. It will not take that tax, whatever. So for that entire payroll. So if you want to run just payroll, you can run a payroll for one person too to do that adjustment check. That you have to do. Okay. Oh, here, let's go back for a second. See, this is what you're hoping to see when you run payroll calculations, and sometimes you get that big red message right there. You don't want to see that big red message. You'll know it when you get it.
I'll call you when it comes, okay?
You call me and I'll go, what? And then you do a review. So before you do it, you've got a lot of options here to do stuff right before you can actually run payroll. So you're getting a lot of things. You're doing the review, you're doing time card edits and all that stuff. You do the review, make any changes you want. Again, you can modify stuff here, and then you can print the check or ACH. Okay, it's check information, edit paycheck, and then you run the print paychecks, you submit it, there's your print check, or I do my ACH file. And then close payroll, and then you're done. So I'm going to show you this here. So let's go into here real quick. Payroll process, and watch me time out. I didn't. All right. Is it moving? There you go. So this is where you change your dates and all that, right? My checking account's defaulting here. I submit it, and then I have my options. Oh, cannot use date before a current accounting period, or whatever I have here. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm at 20, whatever. Okay, let's just go, let's get out. See, I changed my current period. But I didn't change this. Now what? Didn't like it. Oh, because my check date is that. All right, I can't show you this here because my check date's wrong. What I want to do is to go through and just show you this. But the thing is that what's nice, I can't delete this one either right now without playing with it. But let's go here. I'm going to show you this setup for real quick. Here's your pay groups. I talked about pay groups. You can do a quick find. So you look at your semi-monthly. And it's very important to get your pay period, number of pay periods there. So you can attach people to those pay groups. And you can see the one for monthly. And very important to do that, okay? The distribution, go here for really quick, account distribution. Right here. And there's your distributions right here. Okay? And this is where I can copy, and I can select the new one, the new pay code. So it makes it easier as opposed to,
Yeah.
okay?
Figure out and type it all in.
Yep, right. So this is that table that people get all wigged out about. But it's not really hard because you have, typically it's the same expense accounts. But you can have one very specific for each employee for that matter. And then I'm going to show you this one other thing in ledgers and payables real quick. And then this is the setup. And then users. Where's user? Oh, user options. This is where you can set your bank accounts, default bank accounts, okay? So going to, your employee then, I just click my employee, I can see what I have here, information here. I have a direct deposit for this person. Here's tax data. Okay. And see how it says pre-2020, or if I click on 2019, it brings in a new one. Okay. Let's see here. Deduction benefits. If I had any, you'd click on here, you pick your deduction benefit codes, whatever it is that you have. Death benefit, And you can see what you've pulled the last couple years too, if you want to. Okay. You can put percent and all that, limits, whatnot. All right. Reports. You have pay cycle reports.
I do have one question about reports. When you do the ACH, you print off a receipt.
Mm-hmm.
When you go in and try to reprint an employee pay stub, it doesn't look the same.
What do you mean?
Unless I'm maybe selecting the wrong thing, but when you're doing the payroll process, the receipt you get,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, can I go back in and just reprint that ACH receipt? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because they don't look the same as the pay stubs, and all my employees comment on it when they ask for their pay stubs to be reprinted.
All right. I don't know if I can put it in here. Let's see here. Can I reprint? All right, let's see here. The way I'm reprinting it.
Where am
This-
I reprinting?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to, yeah.
Oh,
I think it's in review, maybe. Come on, this thing is slow. Where are you reprinting it from?
I believe it's under ACH file.
yeah,
If you
that's where,
submit, it'll show up again.
oh, will it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so even when it's closed,
Right, even if it's closed,
and you hit
cause yeah,
submit.
if you go under reports and print up the pay stub, it does look different.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
okay, there it
See, it's
is.
print receipts, so I can go and just
Okay.
unselect.
And you can tell it who specifically, okay. Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
In regards to the receipts, for the pay stubs, it only gives you the option to print them. Is there a way to email them to the employees? So, put their email address and
That'd be
do a
lovely.
secure
Yes, it'd be nice, but no.
knowledge of it.
But you can obviously export, import and attach it to an email. You could do that, right? File save, right?
What was the question?
She wants to know if you can email the pay stub.
Just hit the mail up there, and it'll drop down to, see the envelope up there in the top right?
Right there, okay.
Hit that.
But you'd have to do that individually.
Oh,
So if
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
a lot of
You said-
employees, you'd have to
You would
go
have to do
into
that
every
for each one,
single.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Not just a mass, okay, you have
Got it.
20 and then it knows which one to send to each. Yeah.
Right.
Books can do that, I'm just saying.
What can do it?
QuickBooks.
But QuickBooks allows you to do things that we don't allow you to do things. Remember, I talked about, like QuickBooks. I used QuickBooks for a number of years in my small business I had. I did home care for 15 years, and I don't recommend doing that business, but I had all kinds of hair at one time. But I had QuickBooks, and yeah, you can do things with QuickBooks, whereas here it's a little bit harder to do. But, you do have your end-of-period reports, federal reports, and then she's going to go through, Nancy's going to go through your forms, and you can edit your W-2s and what have you. Well, thank you very much. I got those three. So check, job history, personal time fiscal year, and credit card reconciliation, which is not part of this class, but I still have written it down anyhow. All right. Well, thank you.